Chris, I'll start with you. How'd they do it? How did this Raptors team win Game 5 on the road?
There's been a number of things that have happened, not only in game number 5, but this is the first time they've been able to do what they did in game 3 and game number 4, being able to do it in Milwaukee. Because tremendous adjustment after game 1 and 2. Nick Nurse, the head coach, he decides that Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to put my best player on their best player. And him guarding Giannis, which he basically picked up game number 3. And since then, Giannis is shooting 33% from the field. What else has happened? The first 3 games of the series, because in that double overtime game, we saw the bench mob of the Bucks be able to score 43 points. Game 1, 2, and 3, they average 43 points a game. Ends game 4 and 5, they're averaging 19 points a game. So not only how they win in game number 5, there's been a theme to all these winning. Slowing down Giannis, cutting into that bench scoring, and then now they have Fred VanVleet. Last 2 games, he hits 10 out of 12 3-pointers, and Kawhi Leonard has been the difference. There are a lot of things very, very even about this series, but if it was boiled down to one thing, it's Kawhi Leonard and his ability to be able to get his teammates open, and when he's not getting them open, be able to score the basketball. 15 points in the 4th quarter, leading Toronto to that big win. They say in NBA, people that cover the NBA, the series doesn't start until the road team wins. Well, wait, we got a series now because Toronto, huge win last night in Milwaukee, Nick.
There were things other than Kawhi. There was VanVleet. There was Nick Nurse's recognition that Danny Green, you know what?
Yeah.
This might not be his series. Quick trigger there. There was the 5 4th quarter offensive rebounds by the Toronto Raptors. 3 of them led on that offensive rebound to a made shot. 2 of them led to made threes. Those were critical. But the story of this game is Kawhi Leonard. The story of this game is, you can argue this was the finest all-around game of Kawhi Leonard's career because of what he did defensively, because of the stakes, and what he did offensively against the league's best defense, not just with his 35 points, but with his career high 9 assists, all 9 led to 3-pointers.
That's amazing.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it this morning. I watched the game and I knew a bunch of them led to 3s, but all of them. So Kawhi created 62 points in this game, 35 scoring, 27 on those 9 assists. That's a career high for him.
And Nick, you like Kawhi's game. You got a lot of respect for Kawhi's game. We break down all these players. You said, Chris, there is one thing that I need to be able to see from Kawhi.
It's the playmaking. It's the one when a guy is in the league as long as Kawhi Leonard, why does he have 0 career triple-doubles? Not the triple-doubles or everything, but because he's never
There's a reason.
He's never had 10 assists. Prior to last night, he never even had 9 assists. We saw him in full and total control on both sides, and Nick Nurse, to his credit, was able to, even though Milwaukee was in control of this game through 3 quarters, Nick Nurse was able to rest Kawhi a little early. He didn't play 33 minutes in the first 3 quarters like he had early in the series in game, I think it was game 1. He played 28 minutes in the first 3 quarters. That way he can start and finish the 4th quarter with no rest. The story of this game was Kawhi Leonard, or it's been fun watching it jostle over the course of this year. We went into this year, LeBron's the best player in the world. We saw him in the playoffs. Harden goes on that streak, man. Is James Harden the best player in the world? By the end of the year, the Bucks have 60 wins. They sweep the first round. Giannis, is he the best player in the world? Durant then all of a sudden goes 39, 5 and 5 for 8 games. He then goes out. Steph Curry goes 36, 8 and 7 while Durant's out. Now, meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard going head-to-head with Giannis. Kawhi now making the argument, no, maybe I'm the best player in the world. Seeing it go player to player to player like that throughout the season has been really fun.
Let's take a step back and look at the series now. Bucks had all the momentum at the beginning here. They were just steamrolling through. They had the best player in the NBA, most people think. They seem to put it all together. Now it looks like that momentum has changed to Toronto. Who has the edge now as we move forward?
Right now, you can only say Toronto has the edge. They have made Milwaukee play a way that they are not used to playing. That's not the way Milwaukee won 60 games. Now, if they were going to play that way, I would be like Milwaukee. But Toronto, because of the way they play defense, and when you make adjustments in series like this, what gives you confidence is when they are successful. So whatever Nick Nurse would decide to come up with for game number 6, just like he told Kawhi, I want you to take over in game number 5, just like Fred VanVleet, I'm going to put you into the lineup. After Monday, the second birth of his child, after playing horrific in rounds 1, round 2, and the first 4 games, three games of this series. So I think the confidence, the success that they've had, this team, Nick pointed out, they lost 2 games in a row, twice. All right, this season, this is the first time they've lost 3 in a row. I do believe the crowd in Toronto, it will be a championship atmosphere. They are actually 48 minutes away from the moment since this franchise was allowed to be in the NBA. This is a dominant United States sports. And for Toronto, the Raptors to be able to make the finals, it would be monster. Trading for Kawhi in the last year of his contract. Coach, after giving up on the coach last year, a lot of people think was a really good coach. Man, this is, I got to say the Raptors. I don't see one way that this could be, oh, right now, Milwaukee, they should be the favorite. And then also, what type of doubt creeps in? Say you get into the second quarter and you're down, because this is a real elimination game. They talk about nothing's more tough than eliminating the team, but I just believe right now the Torontos have put themselves in this position that they should be a heavy favorite.
Well, and so here, obviously, the team that's up 3-2 in a series is in a dominating position. I understand that, because you're up 3-2 in 2-2, 1-1-1 format. You're going to get one of these games at home. For Toronto, it's the next game, and they have played brilliantly in game 4. They weathered the storm in game 5. So I understand why people would say Toronto's in this position. I still think Milwaukee's going to win this series. I think we're going to be here Monday morning talking about a game 7 back in Milwaukee. I don't want people to get it twisted on Toronto dominating the series, because the series is as even as a series can be. These two teams have scored the exact same amount of points. Milwaukee blew them out in game 2. Toronto blew them out in game 4. Each team has held a lead going into a fourth quarter and then lost that lead. That was game 1 for Toronto, game 5 for Milwaukee. The difference in this series is game 3. Game 3 was a game that went to double overtime. And maybe the series did, in fact, turn early in that double overtime when Giannis fouled out. They go on to win that. If not, obviously Milwaukee's up 3-0 and the series is all but over. I do believe Milwaukee is the team we saw in the regular season. I believe Giannis is the player we had seen up until a week ago. Now, they've got to do something against this half-court offense, a half-court defense from Toronto. They've got to get back to their 5-out offense. Their offense has ground to a halt against Toronto's half-court defense, and last night they didn't make their shots. Only 10 three-pointers for the second most prolific three-point shooting team in the league. I think Milwaukee's going to win this series, but of course, they got to get to the game 7, they got to go to Toronto and win something they haven't done these playoffs.
What's going to happen when Milwaukee loses this series? They're going to look at their top 2 players. And that's what Nick's going to be looking at Monday. Well, what did Giannis do against Kawhi? Because Kawhi and his effect on the series and his effect on 2 players, his effect on Giannis and what Giannis can't do, and also Chris Middleton, he's guarding Kawhi. Oh, he's slowing down Kawhi. Kawhi's shooting 57% from the field, 50% from the three-point range, and Middleton's scoring is down 6 points from the regular season and 6 points from the last round of games. So Kawhi's overall effect, they don't have an answer for Kawhi at this stage of their career. Giannis, the cookies just ain't done yet. He might be the MVP of the league, but he doesn't have a 5 to 12-foot jump shot. And until he gets one of those, he's going to have a hard time trying to finish over top of Kawhi. And Chris Middleton, he doesn't have an answer for Kawhi, and it's worn him out on the offensive end, affected his jump shot and his offensive output.
Do we get the feeling that if Toronto wins, there's a pretty good bet that Kawhi stays in Toronto, or at least strongly considers staying in Toronto?
Listen, I think anyone that can pretend to know what's going on in Kawhi Leonard's head is lying to themselves. He's held it very close to the vest, and I think that he is a hard nut to crack in that regard. But I think for any human being, the more positive memories you create somewhere, the more likely it is you might want to return there or stay there. And so for Kawhi, he's got the game winner in game 7 of the previous round. If he now has a trip to the finals, first time in franchise history, where first time in his career where he would be the centerpiece of a team that makes it to the finals, of course the Raptors have helped themselves. And if they do, if it does happen and he does stay, credit to Masai Ujiri and that staff
Yes.
for taking this gamble. For saying, you know what, even if it might just be for a year, because they could win a championship and he leaves. Even if it's just for a year, we think we can win the title. They're a game away from having a chance to prove it.
It's a 3-team race, Jenna. Toronto right now, they are leading. The New York Knicks will be involved in a meeting with Kawhi, and we know the Clippers in Los Angeles. But right now, what they've done in Toronto, you say, yes, absolutely they would have the lead. But Jenna, just like you saw Kawhi winning the game, the lack of enthusiasm, you were surprised. Don't be surprised July 1st if he surprises the whole nation.